Hello, welcome to the Parent Resource Panel for Princeton Preview. My name is Hillary Herbold. I am a social worker. I'm moderating today's panel, and I want to welcome you all to the panel. I'm glad you were able to tune in. I just want to acknowledge that maybe this is not what any of us expected in terms of how we're communicating with you all. I think we all expected and maybe looked forward to seeing some faces in person, but that was not to be. But we're still really happy to have an opportunity to talk with you, to tell you as much as we can today about the services that we would want to offer your student. Oh, I neglected to say my pronouns are she, her, hers. We're really excited to be here today to talk about what we do and to tell you as much as we can. I know that the contact information for us or for our offices will also be shared at the end of the panel, so we really encourage you, if you have particular questions we didn't have an opportunity to address today, to get in touch with us. So as I said, my name is Hillary Herbold. I'd like the rest of the panelists to introduce themselves. I guess since I'm going first, I'll talk a bit about counseling and psychological services, which is where I am. We are a counseling service at the university. We're part of the University Health Service. We're housed in the McCosh Health Center. We offer individual counseling for all students, undergraduate and graduate students. We offer group counseling. We offer referrals to the community. The counseling service offers psychiatric services. In addition, we offer consultations to community partners on campus who may need our guidance. All of our services are free of charge, and they are all confidential. And I know there may be some questions about confidentiality, so I'll postpone going into that until later. So why don't we just go to our next panelist, Sean Ryder of the Department of Public Safety.
Hi, thank you, Hillary. Let me start by welcoming you all to Princeton. Welcome to what is, in my opinion, the best university in the world. So congratulations, students, moms, dads, and families. I am Sean Ryder. I'm a patrol sergeant here with the Department of Public Safety. And I've been with this department for, I have to pinch myself when I say this, 13 years, just over 13 years now. So let me tell you a little bit about the Department of Public Safety. Well, we are the primary department charged with creating a safe and secure environment here on the campus. But it's not a task that we can carry out alone. And so we continually emphasize that campus safety and security is a shared responsibility. We encourage our students, our staff, faculty to partner with us wherever possible and to utilize the services and initiatives that we provide on a daily basis. We're proud to maintain a very close relationship with federal, state, and local police agencies, law enforcement agencies, which in turn benefits the overall safety of the Princeton community. Our department operates 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and we are comprised of over 100 members. These committed men and women contribute to a comprehensive and integrated safety and security program. And the department consists of professional university police and security officers dedicated to providing a best-in-class service to the community. I'll talk about that again in a little while. Suffice to say at this point that we are a hybrid agency and we have both sworn police officers here under the campus police branch of public safety, and we have security officers operating under that same banner. As the Sergeant for Community Relations, I'm constantly reviewing and strengthening our ties with the community. And I look at what the community expects from us and how we can deliver on those expectations. We all have different needs, and I want to bring about a focus that we at Public Safety can better recognize. I'm available to all members of our community and staff for conversations to again improve and deliver on those expectations wherever possible. But it's again best to remember that the best protection against campus crime is an informed and alert campus community.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much. Why don't we next turn to Nick Vosge of the McGraw Center for Teaching and Learning.
Still getting used to the mic. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Really glad to have a chance to speak with you. My name is Nick Vogue. I'm Senior Associate Director of the McGraw Center for Teaching and Learning. And I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we do. But the upshot is we really help students transition into the university and through the university, meeting and understanding the academic demands and opportunities that they face and learning how to make the most of the incredible instruction, resources, and curriculum that students get when they come to Princeton. So let me, because I really value having an image, a picture, I'm going to share a slide with you, a couple of slides with you too, in case you want to look at that, and that'll help me to provide you an overview of the kind of things that we do. So I oversee a staff of about 170 or 80 tutors and learning consultants, about 10 graduate students, and I also oversee a graduate learning program. That's an important thing to underscore because the support we're providing is not just for undergraduate students, it's for all students, seniors, students who go on to Rhodes Scholars, students that are challenged, students that come from great schools, high school students that come from schools that I feel like don't match very well with Princeton expectations. We serve all students. And in fact, we do that. This is our mission. Our goal is to equip you with the knowledge, skills, and strategies, mindsets to thrive academically and holistically at Princeton. That's our overarching goal. Our focus is on the academic realm. So we do that by providing services, like I said, tutoring. So last year, we had about 8,000 visits to our tutoring center. So over half the freshman class came in for tutoring, nearly half the sophomore class. So it's really common. So some of you are probably coming from schools where that is typical. There's a lot of tutoring. Some of you, maybe that would be quite unusual, but at Princeton, it's really customary. For the 20 or so courses we cover each semester, sometimes as many as 90% of students in that class will come in for tutoring. Last year, we had about 1,000 learning consultations. So these are academic coaching sessions conducted by Princeton undergraduates, and I directly oversee those. Other things that I do in the center, I conduct workshops, academic strategies workshops, addressing things like reading efficiently, how to study, preparing for Princeton exams, time management. Someone mentioned in their questions about procrastination. I do a workshop on that. So those are most of the things that I do on a daily basis. I'll show you some more slides in a minute. But again, what I'm trying to do is connect with students, help you understand that academic support is an integral part of the Princeton educational experience. Virtually every student uses that. And whether that's familiar or new to you, that's something that I want to communicate to you today. Thanks a lot.
You're on mute, Hillary.
Learning. Let's go next to Kimberly Betts of the Office of Career Development.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kimberly Betts. I'm the Executive Director in the Center for Career Development. And I just want to give you a brief overview of some of the things that we do in our office. And to let you know that the work that we do is really an important part of your Princeton education. So sometimes people might think, oh, career development, that's something I do when I'm getting ready to graduate. I think about it the week before I get my diploma. And what we really want you to know is that we're part of your entire Princeton experience, and we want to get to know you from the moment you arrive on campus as a Princeton student. We've got a great team of advisors who work closely individually with students to help think about things like what are your interests, what are your skills, what are your values, what are your preferences, and how does that factor into how you integrate the work that you're doing in your classes, think about what you're learning academically, and then think about how that relates to what you might be doing outside of Princeton after you graduate. Again, our advisors work one-on-one with students, but in addition to that, We have a lot of really fun and engaging programs that we make available to help students explore what are some of the opportunities that might be waiting for them outside of Princeton. We offer a program called Princeternships, which I hope some of you have heard about. It's a program that runs primarily during winter session, where we have students go and spend a short amount of time shadowing / doing mini internships primarily with Princeton alumni to get a taste of what a different career field might be like. We also offer treks, which are group visits primarily in New York City and Philadelphia, where we visit a couple of types of organizations in a field that you might be interested in. So if you think you might be interested in tech, for example, we would take you to visit a big tech company, maybe a Google or a YouTube, and a smaller tech startup, so that you can compare and contrast and see what you can learn about how a work environment may or may not be a good fit for you. Another area of focus for us is in helping students create networks. And as you might know, the Princeton network is a very strong network. There are a lot of very, very active and dedicated Princeton alumni who want to stay connected with students and who want to help you learn, and who want to help you find opportunities. And so we do a lot of work in that area to connect students and alums in ways that are meaningful and fun. And then we do help with job search and, of course, internship search. So everything from starting your resume to thinking about what kinds of employers you might be interested in, doing practice interviews, going through the whole process. We have a strong and active on-campus recruiting program. We have career fairs on campus, and also lots of other ways to get you connected with employers. So most important, I would say, is get to know us, come into our office early, even though you might think as a first-year student, we might not be for you, we are for you, and we want to get to know you and help you find the resources and opportunities that might be helpful to you.
Thanks so much, Kimberly. And Janet.
Hi, everybody. My name is Janet Finney. I'm the director of the health service at the university, but I am also an alum and I am also a parent. So I have sat where you sit now. My daughter's a sophomore. I want to congratulate you and welcome you. I know this is a very exciting time, but I also know that this particular class is facing specific challenges as you head into your freshman year. And I just want to let you know we're going to do everything we can to support you. So very quickly, UHS has a comprehensive set of services that we offer to all students. Approximately 80 to 85% of Princeton students walk through our doors in any given year. 25% of those are going to counseling with Hillary and her colleagues. The services that we provide are free, and they are, and you're eligible for them regardless of what insurance you have. Every single Princeton student has access to our services. Our services include the typical medical services. We also have an on-site lab for full lab work. We have an x-ray. We have the counseling center, as Hillary already mentioned. In the medical area, I'll just mention a few areas. I won't go into them, but in case they're of interest of yours, you'll have my contact information at the end and you can reach out to me. But they include travel health, immunizations, athletic medicine, transgender health care, sexual health, etc. We also have a 15-bed infirmary, which means that we are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week throughout the academic year. This is unusual for college campuses. We are very lucky to be well-resourced in that area so that essentially students have access to urgent care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the entire time they're on campus during the academic year. And we have more than 100 staff members who are providing all those services. I think I'll stop there. There's a few other topics that perhaps we'll cover during the questions.
Thanks so much. So now, and I do so wish that, you know, we could share the beauty of the campus with you all. And I hope that if you haven't visited already, you'll have an opportunity to do so, or at least, you know, to get on the website and see just how beautiful Princeton is at this time of year. It's the cherry trees, the magnolias are blooming. It's just beautiful. And yeah, so I hope you can see it. So I think, thanks so much to those who submitted questions in advance. It sounds like some may have come from parents and some from students or prospective students. So I think what we'll do now is just, again, kind of go around, and people are going to respond to some of the questions that were submitted, just sort of about our respective areas. So Sean, if we could start again with you to maybe respond to some of the questions that were submitted to us.
Sure. Let's start with one from a parent.
Sure.
I'm not sure. I think we could tell which ones come from parents.
Right.
There a little bit. Go ahead.
Sure. So here's one. Here's a parent question. How safe is Princeton's campus? Are buildings and dorms locked? And how does the university control who has access to spaces?
Great question, mum, dad, grandparent, big brother, family member. Okay, so yes, let me start by saying that Princeton University is absolutely a safe campus. You know, I'll qualify that also by saying that there are no 12-foot walls around this campus. We wouldn't want that, right? This is a beautiful university. People can come and go, walk across the campus. We have a lot of visitors to the campus every single day, and we welcome them here. But at the same time, our officers are out there patrolling and making sure that we have eyes on the campus as much as we possibly can. This is a safe campus. We have a great working relationship with the local municipal police department also. The buildings are typically locked down after a certain time in the evening, and dormitories are only accessible to the students. So using their Prox card, they'll all be issued one of these iPhoto IDs within their first few hours here on the campus, and they'll be encouraged to hit a hotspot around the campus fairly frequently, which effectively validates this card, and this is your key into your dormitory. So you'll hit one of these keyless lock ports on the side of the door, and that will grant you access into the building. These are great because should anybody ever lose one, we can deactivate them remotely. We're not having to worry about having to rekey buildings, which was something we had to think about some years ago. But now we can just deactivate a card, and we can point the student or community member to the location where they would get a new card, and we go on from there. Again, back to the question about safety. Again, we have a great relationship with the local police. We are on duty 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Our officers are out there in the field. But again, we encourage our community to be our eyes and ears when we are not there. We can't possibly, despite our superhuman abilities, we can't possibly be on every street corner. And so we, again, have a great relationship with our community, and our community are encouraged to call us whenever they see, hear, whatever it may be, something a little suspicious or a little odd. And we have the skills to come in and investigate and make sure that we're all in a safe place.
Thank you. Good to hear.
Very welcome.
Thank you. So let's turn now to Nick. Nick, I don't know if you selected some questions from the ones that were submitted, or would you like me to put one out there?
I've got a couple. There are a couple that overlapped, and so I think I'll look at the intersection of those, and I prepared a slide or two to address that. So a couple questions raised the question about Princeton's being rigor and challenging, and it absolutely is. So Princeton, we expect students to be challenged. We expect you to not know how to do everything that we ask you to do. That's called learning. If you knew how to do it already, you wouldn't be learning. So that includes how to approach academics, study strategies, skills, time management, being effective and efficient, motivating oneself, being self-directed. And then the question that kind of came with that was, are there academic support services that go with that? And in fact, there are quite a few, and they don't only reside in the McGraw Center. The McGraw Center is a hub of academic support. And I'm going to show you a slide here in just a minute that shows that. But I also want to show you a vast array of academic support services that my colleagues across campus provide. I'm just going to touch on those briefly so you get a picture. Once you're on campus and you're going to meet people who represent these services, or your dean and director of studies. But let me show you a couple of slides that effectively convey some of the things that we do. So this slide shows what we do in the McGraw Center. So as I mentioned, there's a graduate program. I'm not going to talk about that. But the undergraduate program really has 4 key components. So one is STEM tutoring. So any introductory class in math, physics, chemistry, the introductory class in biology and economics, and also quantitative and statistical classes in psychology, sociology, and political science are all supported with STEM tutoring. So that means you come in, it's all cost-free. We have it 3 or 4 nights a week. You come in as a student, you bring your course materials, there'll be other students there, and you work with a tutor to go through the material, really hone your problem-solving skills and your way of thinking like an economist or a physicist or a mathematician. There's also individual tutoring that you can sign up for, again, also cost-free. The second area we work on is what are called learning consultations. This is academic coaching. So this is really any academic question you might have of a peer. And so the consultants get a lot of training, as do the tutors. They're learning about how people learn, what the academic demands are at Princeton, learning time management, life balance, how to thrive. A third component is the academic strategies workshops. We also have panel discussions, again, where upper division students are sharing their expertise with first-year students and others. So these are really practical in that they're trying to meet the demands that you face with, hey, I have a lot of reading, or how do I learn effectively from lectures or so many slides? So we're really taking those felt needs that students have and equipping with skills and strategies. But I should say that also we pride ourselves in being informed by the latest research on learning and how people learn. And so that's a crucial part of our approach. We're really teaching you to be independent, creative problem solvers on your own. Another component is Principedia, and that's a one-of-a-kind resource. We call it the Insider's Guide to Learning at Princeton. And this is resources written by Princeton students. It's crowdsourced, like like Wikipedia is. And students are describing how they're taught in a particular class or major, and then the strategies and approaches they've developed. So it's written by students for students. We also collaborate with a lot of units on campus, so including the Digital Learning Lab, which is a part of McGraw, and the Princeton Perspective Project. I encourage you to look at that. And if you're familiar with the Freshman Scholars Institute or SIFP, we work very, very closely with these organizations. They're focused on these units. They're focused on first generation to college students, low-income students. We also work with the International Center. So any student that's making a transition to the university will almost certainly have some contact with McGraw Center. But not just the McGraw Center. So let me give you a fuller picture of the kind of academic support on campus. There is quite a lot of it. So you can see here in green, that's McGraw's color. These are the things I just talked about. That's the variety of academic support you might get for a particular course. But courses often include academic support themselves. They may have Piazza, which is a virtual question and answer platform. They have review sessions, office hours. Just so you know, office hours are a place where a lot of students get academic assistance. It's not you go if you're in trouble with the teacher. It's a crucial part of your learning and one of the unique features of Princeton. The residential colleges, so that's where you'll be living, your dean and director of studies, they often will offer study breaks. They do offer one-to-one tutoring and other kinds of academic support as well. There's a special center for language study, and other departments, academic departments in the languages, offer their own tutoring. So you can get tutoring in Spanish or Korean or Mandarin through your department. The library has a ton of services that support students all through their 4 years on doing research up through their senior thesis. I mentioned SIFP, so that's the Scholars Institute program, and they offer a lot of workshops, programming as well. And then the Writing Center. So the Writing Center, like the McGraw Center, has about 10,000 visits a year. So most students come to our services. If you count the two of us together. And then the academic department. So if anybody's taking a math class, physics class, they're very likely to have tutoring in those departments. So you can see lots and lots of academic support. Hillary, should I take out the second question, or do you want to hold off on that and come back around again?
I think we have time for another question.
Okay. So one of the questions, another question I got had to do with procrastination. Mm-hmm. The student, again, mentioned a challenging work environment, and I said, do Princeton students procrastinate? I'd be very curious to hear what my fellow panelists have to say about that. Indeed, they do. They're human beings. You're just like you. They're just real students. They're not superhuman. They, like me and like you, they procrastinate a little bit. I think one of maybe the origin or the source of this question is thinking, well, if there's so much to do and it's so hard, will I avoid that? Will I be tempted to procrastinate? Also, there's so many wonderful things on campus. Yeah, those dynamics are part of the Princeton environment. There's a lot to do, more than you can possibly do. You don't have to do it all your first semester. Sample, explore, pick a couple things you want to delve into, and do that. But I think the biggest idea I'd want to leave you with, and again, I think what's motivating this question is Princeton as a learning environment, actually any of the top universities as a learning environment are pretty different than almost every high school that you're coming from. It's really important to think of it. It's not just one step. It's your first year of college is not like grade 13. Really think of it as as a quantum leap. It's a different culture, has a lot of different expectations. You'll adjust to them. You'll get used to them. But it is not necessarily continuous in the way that grade going from 10 to 11 to 12 is. And that's both wonderful in that you get all kinds of new opportunities and responsibilities, classes you've never imagined, the opportunity to really have your mind blown by some incredible professor and the readings you're doing. But there'll also be things that are quite challenging. You'll be asked to write more, to read more, to be more independent. But I want to leave you with this thought that in cognitive psychology, we make this distinction between difficulties and desirable difficulties. The difficulties associated with the Princeton curriculum of exploring in depth, of being challenged to think more critically, to explain ourselves more clearly, to make connections across content and authors and texts. These are very desirable difficulties, meaning they incite learning, they promote learning. So much the same way that you go to the gym and you want to work out, if you want to get stronger, you lift heavier weights. If you want to get smarter, more capable, then you take on bigger academic challenges within your scope. You can't do too much. Overwhelm doesn't help us physically or mentally. But I really believe that most of the challenges at Princeton are quite desirable in the academic curriculum. And I encourage you to think about these unfamiliar and novel demands as the source of your growth, and their challenges as well as opportunities.
Thank you. Wonderful. Why don't we turn now to Kimberly to answer a question or two about career development?
Sure. So one of the questions that I got was, what if I don't know which career path I want to follow? My response to that is, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want to hear. We love to work with students who are open to exploring. And that's, again, sort of goes back to what Nick was just saying about really embracing the educational experience that you're about to embark on. I hear from students frequently, I can't go to the career office yet just because I don't know what I want to do. But really what we want people to understand and to really embrace is that that's the right place for you to be. Our advisors want to talk with you about who you are and what your goals and dreams and hopes are, what your fears are, all of that stuff, and help plot a course to help you explore that. And you've got plenty of time to explore. And that's another reason why we want people to come and meet with us early on in their careers, is because true to our name, it's career development. It's development. It's a process, and it takes time. And the earlier you start developing, the more time you have to explore, and the less stressful things are when you get closer to graduation, when you're thinking, oh, now it's time to get a job and I don't know what I want to do. So if you look at career outcomes from our alumni, you will see very little correlation between what they majored in and what their career paths are. So you don't have to think about, gosh, I need to know what I want to do with my life so I can pick my major. You don't. You are gaining such valuable skills and such valuable information no matter what you major in at Princeton. And it's going to set you up well to do all sorts of different career paths. The other thing that's exciting about that is that we know that career paths are not linear. The first job that you have after college may not at all look like the job that you have 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And that's a good thing. That's an exciting thing. And that's part of why we want to, in the Career Development Center, help prepare you to understand how you do that self-assessment, how you do the reflection, how you do the exploration, and to know how to position yourself well for all of the years to come as you're embarking on what will almost certainly be a winding and exciting career path. So the answer to that question is good. I'm glad you don't know what you want to do at this point. That's an exciting place to be, and that's exactly when we want to talk to you.
Thanks so much, Kimberly. Just while we have you here, while you're talking, I noticed a question about summer internships. And I know that's something that comes up even for me working with students in the counseling service, usually around the middle of the year, certain amount of anxiety starts percolating about internships. So the question was, can the Career Development Office help me find a summer internship as an undergrad?
Yeah, we do a lot of that, actually. And you're right, middle of the year is when a lot of the internship deadlines start to come up. It does, though, I have to say, depend upon different industries. And so, again, the earlier you can come in and talk with us, the better, because some industries, even for internships, have pretty early deadlines. And so we don't want people to miss out on those just because they hadn't got around to thinking about it yet. There are lots and lots of Princeton-sponsored summer programs. And so we do help students who are applying through the PICS program or through the International Internships program. We do help with preparing materials, practicing for interviews, writing personal statements, all of that. But there are lots of opportunities in the world outside of those that Princeton offers as well. And so that's where we have relationships with employers and recruiters. We also have a lot of again, the connections with alumni to help students find those internship opportunities. It's been, I'll say, just at this period of time, internships have been a challenge for this summer with a lot of employers uncertain of how to accommodate interns in a virtual environment. And I think that's caused some anxiety for students. What I'll say, though, is that in the Center for Career Development, we've been doing some outreach to our alumni population saying we've got students who are looking for ways to use their summers now that the internship situation has become so uncertain. And we've had a lot of alums who have stepped up and said, I can create a summer internship or a summer project for a Princeton student. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that those opportunities continue to be available to students, but we spend a lot of time working with students on thinking about internships, preparing for internships, finding and applying for internships.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it just makes me think about what a fluid situation we're in right now. And maybe before we end today, we'll have one of the questions actually had to do with how students are being supported while at home, given the current situation. So if we have time, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit too, because I think we're all sort of readjusting, retooling, rethinking what we do. So Janet, from the medical perspective, were there particular questions, or should I share some of the questions that were submitted?
I think I noted what additional questions had come in. One question had to do with will there be forms to fill out? I think will there be, and yes, indeed, there will be forms to fill out, not just from the health service, but from a variety of sources. So what happens is once you choose to accept, which of course you will, because it's the best place of all, so you will be matriculating, you will get your ID, and then you're going to go into this portal where there's a whole lot of forms in there. And from the health service, we'll be asking you to complete a health history, and that typically requires you to go see your physician. We know these are unusual times, so you'll have to, depending on your circumstances, that could be a remote visit. It could be you asking them to send a copy of your medical record. There will be instructions in that portal for what is needed. In particular, we're interested in your immunization history because we're a residential setting and we want to make sure everyone is healthy. So those are the kinds of forms that we do require. And then another question real quick was about, and this relates to what you were saying, Hillary, that this is a very, you'll be the only class that has this experience. It'll be a unique experience. I will just say that everyone at Princeton is adjusting and adapting to be able to provide what's needed for all of our students. In the case of the health service, we are now offering telehealth visits, medical visits. We're also doing the remote counseling. There are some restrictions on that that are based on state law. So right now our telehealth is focused on New Jersey, but we also have an email line called Ask Health At that is can be used by students anywhere in the world that are Princeton students to get assistance with filling prescriptions, et cetera. I'm just giving those as examples of how the type of place Princeton is. I think that if you choose Princeton, you will find that everyone on this campus is devoted to making the experience the best possible experience it can be for you, and that right now we're adapting, we're adjusting, we're changing on a dime to make sure that's true for you as you enter in the fall.
Thanks so much. So that's a good sort of segue for me to talk a little bit. There were questions about mental health services. So one question was just, what are mental health resources like on campus? And likewise, I think the question was, how do students deal with stress? Is there counseling available? So yes, indeed, there is counseling available through the counseling service. Mental health counseling. There's lots of different kinds of counseling, but mental health counseling through the counseling and psychological services is widely utilized by students, both undergrad and grad students. So about 25% of undergraduates come through the doors of CPS each year, actually. And in the time that students are at Princeton, about 40% of them use our services at some point or other. So those are numbers we're really proud of, because I think we hope it means that students feel comfortable and feel like you don't just come to CPS when you have like a big problem or a mental health emergency, but we're really there to help you with all kinds of issues that you might be dealing with, whether it involves, a relationship that you're in, or a sleep issue, or, just adjusting to being away from home, or having a hard time deciding, what direction you want to go in your life, or maybe you're having some anxiety or low mood. There's such a range of issues, and we really try to emphasize that the threshold is very, very low. We want to see you. We have, I always forget the exact number, I think about 15 mental health clinician counselors. We have also psychiatric providers. We have psychologists, social workers. We have psychology interns. And all of our services are free. And they're really quite easy to access. Wait times tend to be pretty short these days. They vary a little bit, but we also have urgent care every day. So students can, under normal circumstances, just walk in any weekday and speak to a counselor about anything that's going on for them. There were a couple questions about confidentiality. So if students access medical or mental health services at Princeton, parents are not informed, deans are not informed, is entirely confidential. The only exception to that has to do with actually a legal exception, which is that if there's an imminent threat of to someone's safety, then deans are notified. Because confidentiality, we have to balance confidentiality with someone's actual physical safety. But apart from that, there's a firewall of confidentiality when you come in to either the mental health service or the medical service. I'm as Nick was talking about, you weren't calling it positive stress, but something along those lines. I was thinking about, we tend to think of stress in the sort of, negative sense of being frazzled, but there's a lot of positive stress about being a student at Princeton. It's exciting. You're learning new things all the time. You have opportunities for new kinds of relationships, for living with peers, for engaging in new sort of intellectual and academic opportunities, new social opportunities, more extracurricular athletic things. Sometimes it's a sort of, it can feel a bit overwhelming at times how to choose and how to balance your time. And it's a lot. And we are there and want to be there to help with whatever kind of stress you may be experiencing. And also, we sometimes consult with students when they're concerned about peers, right? If they have a roommate or a friend or a teammate who they feel concerned about, they can come in and talk with us about that. So we really, we really love what we do. We enjoy talking with students in a lot of different kinds of settings. We offer a lot of outreach opportunities in the community. Please, if you have other questions about mental health services, reach out to me with my contact information at the end of the session. So Janet, maybe you could follow up too, talking a bit about the medical end of things and questions of confidentiality. I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Just following up on a couple things Hillary said about confidentiality. So she mentioned that if there's some sort of a danger to self or others or a safety issue, that deans would be notified. It's typically the deans that would then call you if you're a parent watching this. So in those situations, you would be contacted as a parent. The other way that a parent can obtain information if they are concerned is to talk to their student and ask the student to sign a release. So we do have releases in both the counseling area and the medical area. And if your student wishes you to have contact with one of our providers, they can sign the release, and then you can have that conversation. So I did just want to add that little bit of clarification.
Yeah, thank you very much. And just along those lines, a couple of things. One is, I want to put in a little plug for the student health plan, which is the university health insurance. It's really excellent coverage, and it's particularly excellent when it comes to mental health care. The one thing I neglected to say about CPS's services is that they're generally short-term. And so if a student is looking for longer-term mental health counseling or psychiatric care, typically we're going to end up referring that student into the community and helping them connect with a provider off campus. We have a lot of really excellent community providers who do accept the student health plan. And so please, take a look at the student health plan and consider the coverage that it has. Janet may be able to say more about medical coverage, but from a mental health standpoint, it's really excellent.
I didn't have anything about the student health plan, but I did want to say one other thing, which is every year when the admissions office asks health services if we want to be involved in Princeton Preview, I always say, sure, we'd be happy to help. But typically what I find is that if if you're a student watching this or a parent watching this of a student most students are not interested in hearing about the health service is basically the point I'm trying to make, unless they have a health need. So if you have a psychological or emotional health need, or if you have a chronic condition, we're here to talk to you before you come to campus. My information will be at the end of this video. You can contact me. I can find the right resource to you, because those are usually one-on-one conversations. They're not something we can, that you want to discuss in a large forum. But we do frequently speak with students or their parents before they even arrive on campus to make sure all the supports are in place before you even land.
Yeah, and that's true on the mental health end as well. There are sometimes incoming first-year students who contact us and say, I know I'm going to want to see a therapist in the community. Can you help me with that over the summer? And yes, absolutely. There was a question, and this is kind of a general question for everybody, but it was, how do students find out about the support resources available to them? Are students introduced to these centers and services during orientation? And relatedly, a question was, are there affinity spaces on campus? So spaces that are designed for students who identify in a particular way, whether that be with respect to gender identity, sexual identity, race, ethnicity, and how does Princeton foster supportive communities and safe spaces among its students? So those are great questions, and the short answer is yes, yes, and yes. But what I would like to say as another brief answer is that when you come to Princeton, you'll be a member of a residential college, and the dean, the director of studies, and the director of student life, each college has each of those, and they are really your sort of go-to folks, along with your residential college advisor, for helping you understand about the various resources available on campus. So you will have many, many opportunities, both during orientation and later, to learn about all kinds of support resources, whether they're affinity spaces, places to help you feel safe and to make the environment feel more easy to navigate and manageable. I don't know if others want to comment.
Sure, I can jump in. So academic support services, including the McGraw Center, will absolutely be introduced to students through their deans and director of studies. McGraw Center holds particular orientation events. So there's an event called the Academic Expo. It's the day before classes start. It's a chance for students to come in and learn about a lot of different programs, and we have a table there. And then we hold our own orientation week events. So students can come, and generally speaking, those are panels. So we want students who want to hear from other Princeton students. So those are juniors and seniors conveying their experiences about navigating academics, how to adapt and adjust, how to effectively engage and utilize resources and services. And of course, nowadays, everybody has useful and effective websites, but I really strongly encourage you to come in and make a personal connection to our center. Come to these events. I'll remember you. So will the learning consultants and tutors that you meet. It makes all the difference when you want to come back and use the service that you have. You know somebody, you know their name, you know what they look like. They'll smile when they see you because they recognize you. So I strongly encourage you. There's a lot of going on during orientation. But if you could take that extra time to go out, go to the centers, meet the people, it will absolutely be beneficial in the long run.
Yeah, can I just add, well, Nick said it, that orientation program is huge. Your first couple of weeks here on the campus, there is going to be so much information that's going to be fed to you. You'll be forgiven for getting a good majority of that. So ask questions. You are here to learn, but there's a lot more beyond the books when you come to Princeton, and again, you're going to be supported in so many different ways. Orientation, again, lots of information will be given to you. You will forget lots of it, so please ask. We will, and everybody on this campus is here to make you successful. We're going to point you in the right direction.
And I would just say too, to ask your peers, ask the students around you. I think it was already mentioned that there's a really great residential college advisor program. The RCAs have lots of help, lots of information to share. We also have peer career advisors. So these are, again, students who are trained in what the resources are and what the options are. There's a lot that goes on at Princeton. And so as you get to know the other students and ask them questions about what are they doing, how did they learn about what they know here, they're going to be great resources for you too.
Great. And as we talk too, I'm thinking about the other, I guess, resources, but some of the fun stuff, like campus recreation, which is wonderful, and club sports, which are also terrific. Lots and lots of students who aren't varsity athletes participate in club and intramural sports. There are so many student organizations, everything you can imagine and more, and just students coming up with creative stuff. I think this year or last year, they started a coffee club, which is like taken off like gangbusters. And so if you want it to happen, or there's something you're interested in, either it's already here or you can create it. It's very cool. All right, so before we end, I know there was a question about, let me just read the question. I know most support resources are available, but what services are available remotely or online? I'm especially curious, given the current COVID-19 situation, how are students being supported by the university while at home? Gee whiz, we have about 5 minutes for this one. But it seems, I guess, sort of fitting maybe to finish on that note. So I'll just say I've been talking as a therapist, I've been talking with a lot of students who are now at home, who say, wow, it happened so quickly. I had, X amount of time to pack up and go, like over spring break. And I'm thinking, I hear you, because it felt like it happened so quickly and very quickly. I know in CPS, we were saying, how can we continue supporting students who now, about 90% of whom roughly are now leaving campus, or at least the undergraduates. And, I'm happy to say I'm as busy talking with students now as I ever have been. And it feels actually quite wonderful to stay connected to the students I was already talking to. I may be working with them out of my home office and they may be in their bedroom at home, but we stay connected. And there's something, I think we all wish we were not in this situation, but I feel very heartened by the ways in which we've managed to stay connected, and we've, I think, as Janet said, sort of turned on a dime really, and continue day to day thinking about what does the situation require of us, and how can we continue kind of like holding this community together in these sort of really unprecedented and challenging and unpredictable circumstances. So that's what I have to say about it, but I'm really interested in what others' experience has been.
I would say it's sort of similar from a career development perspective, in that all of our advisors are continuing to meet with students one-on-one, continuing to provide the same support as we do when we're in person on campus. The majority of our events, we've been able to move to online events. So the panels, the workshops, those kinds of things have moved to online. We were not able to do the treks we had planned to do, obviously, taking students into the city this spring semester. But as I mentioned previously, we did some outreach to alums to say, this is an unprecedented occurrence and students could use a little support. And we got so much, we had such an outpouring of support from alums that, again, we've been able to offer new internships for the summer that we didn't know were even possibilities that students will be doing virtually this summer with our alumni. We've got new opportunities for virtual informational interviews with alumni, new workshops and panel discussions with alumni all around career-related areas. And so in some ways, of course, as everyone, we're sad to not be on campus and be in person with our students, but in some ways we've got some opportunities that are unique and interesting and different from what we had imagined, that are also really positive and good ways to continue to build community even though not in person.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I would just add that I think that we've been forced into a scenario that really has tested our depth of community, and this virtual world, if that's what we want to call it, or you know, the online meeting space now has really made us rethink and become a little, well, certainly a lot more creative in terms of how we stay relevant from a public safety perspective. I'm always very aware that some of the programs that we offer here on the campus, when we talk about building safe and aware community members, as I said earlier on, this is a safe campus. But we know a lot of our community travel off that campus. They'll have opportunities to travel the world and research all around the world. And we want to make sure that they are as prepared for that as possible in our way. And so, again, just reminding the students right now about how to remain safe when they're back home or they're off the campus at least. We've actually been creating some videos, and I've actually been quite amazed by some of the acting talents of some of my colleagues recently. We've been creating videos, fun videos, but with safety messages that we're about to publish very, very soon. So, you know, it's a serious time. We're getting out some serious messages, but we feel that we're being productive in doing that and staying relative.
Thank you.
In terms of activity support in the McGraw Center, you know, we moved and adapted virtually every single program that I've mentioned online. So we have exactly the same kind of tutoring. We have group tutoring by course and individual tutoring virtually. In fact, we expanded the hours to address the needs of students who are abroad. So we actually have increased our services. We do academic coaching, the learning consultations I was talking about, one-to-one. And again, we have a full range of times because some of my staff are in Germany or in the Philippines. We do workshops, and we've actually much like some other people have talked about, we've actually adapted and seen this as an opportunity to shore up our skills and our ability to offer resources online. So we've created some different formats, making it a little easier for students to come to sessions, maybe have shorter time periods, drop in things that are less like a workshop and more like a discussion. We've actually surveyed students to find out what it is they wanted and needed. And we look at this as a way we're going to extend some of these things into the fall and beyond, but we're also quite committed to Princeton being a brick and mortar, high touch, personal interaction environment. That's what we do. That's what we want to do. We see the important value of that. We're committed to that. So whenever we're making these adjustments, we're trying to think, what are the challenges, but also opportunities that are posed by virtual teaching, remote learning, and then how do we bring people closer together physically, you know, or virtually, and help students engage and motivate given these environments. So I think it's been a really useful experiment. We did a lot of work over spring break. Students were going home, and that was our week to make the adjustment. We were actually able to get our tutoring up just as we would on a normal week after spring break. So we were able to get things up and going pretty much on our regular schedule, thanks to a lot of work from a lot of people.
Anything anyone else wants to add on that question? No? Okay, well, I think we're actually at the end of our time. I want to thank our panelists very much. And thank you to those of you who are tuning in, parents, students, anyone else. We're really happy to have been able to share this with you. And I think the last slide here is going to offer our contact information. We do invite you to get in touch with other questions, and look forward to seeing you.